The journey of the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe started with the journey of Tony Stark.
Stan Lee said he kind of created him on a dare. Could you make a billionaire weapons manufacturer, philandering philanthropist, who largely lives an ugly and irresponsible moral psychology?
Iron Man, Tony Stark, is the kind of exception to the rule that he wasn't bit by a spider, there's no gamma rays. He's just someone who builds this suit basically to save his own life. He's a billionaire weapons manufacturer who's taken hostage.
Iron Man was going to be the first installment of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. There was only one question. Who does Marvel cast to play Tony Stark?
Tell me all the qualities that you think are most important. Fast, quick-witted, and funny, and dynamic, and a bit troubled, and confident, and brilliant, and all of these things. And we really kept coming back to Downey.
I remember sitting down with the guy, and I was like, geez, he just got it in it. He's got that spark in him and his eye, and he's ready.
I think he really understood the weight of the responsibility with these movies.
Robert Downey Jr. seemed like the perfect choice, but there was a big problem with casting him. Robert Downey Jr. had a history of wild behavior. Because of his struggles with drug addiction, he'd been arrested multiple times, sent to jail, and fired from roles. In 2001, Robert gave an exceptional performance in Ally McBeal, which won him a Golden Globe. But that didn't last long because he was fired from the role after being arrested on drug charges. Incidents like that gave him the reputation of being too risky of a hire. This led to a lot of friction in him getting the role of Tony Stark.
At the time, it was, whoa, risky casting Robert Downey Jr.
Well, I said to Jon Favreau, I said, I think I'm the guy for the job. And he goes, I do, and they don't.
Robert Downey Jr. at that point in his career wasn't necessarily a family-friendly name.
Robert Downey Jr.'s suitability for the role was without parallel, but his own reputation became his biggest obstacle. How would Marvel know that he would stay sober and not do anything wrong during production? How would Robert overcome that doubt and land this role?
Right before Iron Man and the screen test for that, there was part of me that was saying, my worldview has to change if I want to really have a shot.
I think there's an aspect of it that clearly has to do with one's own morality, because it's too easy to jump on that wagon of it's a disease and my brain's been hijacked and I no longer have a choice in the matter. I think there's that element for sure, but past a certain point you have to stand up inside yourself and change. Everybody does with any issue.
That interview was in 2003, and Robert had been sober since. That led to enough goodwill with Jon Favreau and the casting director to warrant screen testing.
And that's when we were in your office and we were pointing to his headshot and saying, we got to try to figure this out. That was enough to get us a screen test.
Jon was in love with the idea of Downey playing the part. And we all felt so sure about him on a creative level. Because he wasn't instantly a slam dunk approval, I suggested we have screen tests. I remember walking in with Robert Downey Jr. the day of the tests. He was laughing and in great spirits and completely at ease. And he got in front of the camera and started saying the lines.
I assure you the day weapons are no longer needed to keep the peace. I'll happily transit to manufacturing bricks and beams for baby hospitals, making hemp pants and the like, but until that time, can I get you a drink?
On that day that Robert screen tested, it was clear that there was no one else who can play that part.
I gotta hand it to you guys. Every single one of you deserves a medal.
I just studied the text and thought of everything I could do better than anyone else. It's that thing when you only have to focus on one thing for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Imagine if all you had to do was tell one joke and then you studied that joke for 5 years. That's kind of what I did, because obviously I was unemployed at the time.
Weapons that I built are being used to kill innocent people. Can't let that happen.
The truth was, we got to a point that we realized if we didn't cast him, that would have been the biggest risk.
Robert's amazing performance in the screen test and the sobriety he maintained since 2003 were enough to convince the studio that he was the guy for the job.
I can make a choice. I can fight for what's right.
It was one of those rushes that I'm sure like somebody would feel if they're about to play a big sporting arena, playing for the ring or something like that. It was just like, am I gonna pass out or am I gonna nail this? I had hypnotized myself into such a state of confidence that I was certain that everything we were doing worked. And the rest is history.
It was magic. It was exactly the feeling as a casting director with Kevin, with John, with everyone, that we all wanted to have that feeling like we have it. This is it. This is Iron Man.
Robert Downey Jr. was cast as Tony Stark, and it was without doubt one of the best castings in cinema history.
It wasn't really until we cast Robert that I fully understood what the take was. And once it was Robert, every decision became a lot easier.
I think that's probably one of the greatest decisions in the history of Hollywood.
He was that puzzle piece that made it all work.
How many Spider-Mans have there been? How many Hulks have there been?
Yep.
There's only one Iron Man now.
Looking back, there really is no one else who could have played the character so well, and the leap of faith that Jon Favreau and the studio took by casting Downey was definitely worth it.
His endorsement of me to play that character, and then Kevin Feige having the wherewithal to say, okay, bit of a risk, let's do it. We like risk. Wound up being, a life-changing 15 years.